You've clicked on this video, and by May you'll probably be looking in the face of an idiot. Last 9 games of the League 2 season, who is going to get promotion in those top 3 places? Who's going to be the champions? Walsall was 17 points clear of Bradford City. Are they going to make up that gap and win the league? We'll be finding out later. And who's going down? Well, I'm going to waste no time in telling you who's going down. It is Carlisle and it is Morecambe, and that's the order. I think a couple of weeks ago it could have been different. I think Carlisle did have an outside chance, and Tranmere could definitely have been pulled back in it when they had Adkins. But at the end of the day, it's too much of a big gap now for Carlisle, which is a shame. I think it's a 7-point gap now, and Carlisle are a big club at this level. They've got a big fan base, a good fan base as well at the level, and it's the Carlisles you watched, LG Oldhams, that are going to be in the National League next season, and I find it very hard to get out of, and they're good big clubs at the level, and when you're consistently losing them for teams like Forest Green, it's always a tough watch. But the recruitment's been poor, and they've got too many players who don't care about the club, don't care about the fans, and they're too busy earning the money that they've been collecting. There's many players who can be put into that category. Mark Hughes, 1 win. He's picked up 1 win in his 8 games that he's been there. A few draws in there. I think if they had Mark Hughes before the January window, let him bring his own players in, they might have had an outside chance. And Morecambe, I'll put them in 23rd. I think Carlisle, just don't have any momentum. But Morecambe, for me, they're the worst team I've seen at Valley Parade this season. That's a bit of the logic. Derek Adams is an absolutely shocking manager. That's another bit of logic. Every time I've watched him, I just think you are a team that are mid-table in the National League. They've got so many players that are just nowhere near the level, can barely kick a ball, and they're just absolutely hopeless. Obviously, again, it's upstairs. That's where the problem is. There's too much going on in the back room. Another club ruined by the owners. I hope they can turn it around, but it's always going to be a big task. Derek Adams was the banking, the one everyone were banking on, and it would have been an absolute. It had to have been like Jesus Christ to turn this around, and he hasn't. And Tranmere, obviously, if they had Adkins, I think there could have been an outside chance, but Crosby's turned it around, unbeaten in 4, I think. Very well organised against Bradford City, and they're putting the fight in, and they've got a few 3-4 players who shouldn't be in a relegation battle, and that's showing your Hawks, your Hendrys. They've got a number of good top-end League 2 players on the day, and that's what will get them over the line, and has got them over the line, because I think they'll easily get away, and your Harrogate, your Accringtons, your Gillinghams, your MK Dons, they're not going to get dragged into it. 40 points, I think, will be more than enough. But in 7-5 got Colchester, but they're so well drilled, so well organised, bodies on line, they've got grit and character to get over the line. 13 games unbeaten, 5 wins in the last 5 games, and they've only lost 2 games this year. And that's a great run, but I did have them in 7th in pre-season, so that's why I'm sticking with that. I'm not going to go any higher. And I really like a lot of the players. Samson Tavides had a great season. Jack Payne in midfield. I like the winger Edwards. And they've got a good defence. They've got the 3rd best defence in the league, so I think they'll comfortably get into the top 7. How they do in the playoffs will be interesting. In 6th, I've got Notts County. I think with Notts County, I've already done a video on them. I think Stuart Maynard is underachieving there. I think if they get playoffs, it's a good season, similar to how we did under Mark Hughes. Playoffs is a good season. If you don't go up, it's a failure, but something you can progress with. But is he going to be there in 2-3 years? I can't see him being there, because I don't rate him as a manager. Not to be getting better out of that squad. I think your McGoldricks, your Jones, who will be coming back, they can get you over the line. But yeah, the thing that makes me question it is the fixtures. They've got some very favourable fixtures from now to end of the season. In 5th, I've got Wimbledon just limping over the line. Like I say, their fixtures aren't favourable. They will get a lot of draws from now to end of the season. Will that be enough? I think it will just be. And you just fancy him to, in a tight game, just find a goal from somewhere, hold on to it, and get the 1-0. That's what they've done all season. I think they'll continue to do that. I like Bugill and Stevens. They've been fantastic up front together. Tilly on that left side. They've got a midfield that complement each other well. Not being a big fan of Jake Reeves over the year, but he's had a really good season. And that back line, Lewis, he has the capability of making a mistake, and he looks like a 5-year-old rugby player, but he is quite solid. I do quite like Lewis at the back for Wimbledon. And the goalkeeper, Goodman, best goalkeeper in the league as well. Johnny Jackson's got a really good, stable squad, and him there as well is quite stable. And I think they'll be a big threat in the playoffs, but I don't think they have enough in them to get into the top 3. Can they go on a winning run? I don't think they can. I think their away form and the draws will just stop them from getting into that top 3 from now to end of the season. So in 4th, are Bradford City going to get top 3? Are they just going to fall out of the playoffs? And the other teams as well, your Walsalls, your Doncasters, Port Vale, Crewe. Are Crewe going to get into the playoffs? Well, they're not. Bradford City are going to get top 3. Port Vale are just missing out on top 3, and they're coming 3rd in my opinion. And it is hard to predict this, and it could go either way, because I think every week it'll change, and that's what it seems to be doing. But for me, Port Vale, they have more than enough to get into the playoffs and to have a good run at the top 3, but I think that they have the shackles on too often. I think if Darren Moore released the shackles, that they played with freedom, they've got some really good attacking players with some really good flair in that squad. But for me, they seem too interesting keeping the clean sheet, and then when they lose that clean sheet, they go 1-0 down, they open up a bit, they go attacking, they score a goal and they sit back on the lead, get on the point or on the lead, and that's going to cost them. Top 3, it might get them through the playoffs, which is a successful season. Getting up, that's the end goal, and I'm sure they don't care if that's how they go up. But for me, that's not going to get you top 3. They'll have too many points, and that's what they've done this year. Yes, they've had a fantastic unbeaten run throughout, apart from losing to Colchester when that came to an end the other Tuesday night. But they've had so many draws in that unbeaten run. Is it really that credible? The games have drawn too as well aren't really, where you go, yeah, we'll take a point there. It's more, that should have been 3 points that game beforehand, and when you get the point, you're disappointed in the performance. And I can see why they defend so they're so focused on defence. Obviously, Darren Moore were a defender, and they've got poor defenders in that back 3. I don't really rate Smith. I've never really liked Hall. To be honest with you, I didn't really rate him at Colchester. But Darren Moore's done it everywhere he's gone. That's his style of play, and I can't really see it getting them top 3 because they'll draw too many games and they're too pedestrian. But if they were to play with that freedom and that attacking flair that they've got, and when they do go 1-0 down, when they play like that, from what I've seen of them this season anyway, they're much more entertaining and they play much better for it. But Stockley's going to be massive. If they can keep him fit, if he can play all the games this season, that they're going to be a massive threat to anyone, because he can change a game with his height. He takes pressure away from everyone around him, and he can chip in with a few goals as well. But just missing out on the autos. Now in 3rd, I've got Bradford City. We're just going to limp over the line. We don't do it the easy way, do we? It'll probably go down to the last game. But the reason I've got us 3rd and not winning the league and not coming 2nd, just behind as well, is that running. I'm very concerned about it. You do look at it constantly, every day. Swindon away is not easy. You've got to go to Port Vale, got to go to Doncaster. Notts County have to come to Valley Parade, and bogey team will get battered by them every time. Fleetwood's the most favourable game by some distance, but that's the last game. So the pressure's going to be sky high. Colchester on Saturday. Every game I'm looking at and I'm thinking there's a banana skin in that, or we're going to get battered. Sarcevic could be out for the season. If not, it'll be the last couple of games. Pattison, you're looking at sort of early to mid-April, hopefully, sooner. Maybe Port Vale, if we're lucky. Poynton, very similar as well, mid to early April. When them two orders, one of them come back, we'll hit the form. But it might be too late then. But I think we will have enough when them two come back to scrape over the line. We will get the odd point here and there. We've got 6 points. If we can get 14, 15 points, I think that'll just get top 3. Just get 3rd place, and I think we'll just limp over the line, and hopefully we'll have a fantastic end of season party at Valley Parade at Fleetwood. But we all know it ain't going to be easy, and that's why I've got us in 3rd. In 2nd, I've got Doncaster, and these are another one with a tough one, and that means obviously Walsall are going to limp over the line and win the league. But Doncaster, they've got some. The back line's always been dodgy. They've improved slightly in the back line this season. They do seem a bit more solid defensively. They're keeping more clean sheets, but still there's question marks over it. I think they've got a few injuries in there as well. I think Oliver and McGrath might be injured, but I'm not too sure. But they came off the other week. They've got a tough running in terms of the amount of games in such a short period of time. I think they've got 3 or 4 games in a week. No, not a week. 9 days, 3-4 games, something like that. Ridiculous because of the Sky Sports package and the scheduling that they're making them do. It's ridiculous. I've already said it on this channel how much I hate the Sky Sports deal, but it's impacting Doncaster probably more than anyone. And hopefully, when we go there, it's a Thursday night, but I can just see it being a Thursday night or an early kick-off. So that's going to have a big impact. But you look at your firepower at the top end, and you can't argue against it. You've got Luke Molyneux, best player in the league, in my opinion. He's just unstoppable down that right-hand side. Billy Sharp's fallen off, okay. You've got Joe Ironside, who can come off, and Rob Street, who's scored a ridiculous amount. I think he's got 6 goals in 12. Really clinical and looks like the best striker in the league since he's come into Doncaster. And the midfield, Owen Bailey, got some real game changers in that team, and I think that's what bit of difference. The defence worries me, the fixture scheduling worries me for Doncaster, but you can't argue against that, the top end, and the fact that McCann's mentality, I think they'll get over the line, they'll hit form. They've had 2-3 games where they haven't won. But I think with how they finished last season, and obviously the down that they're on from last season, I think McCann will be drilling it into them. But they can't let the performances drop from now, from how far they've come. I'm looking at Walsall. I'm thinking they can't drop it. From where they are, they've hit some poor performances and poor results. I think 2 wins in 12 or 2 wins in 13 now. Obviously that draw to Bromley, it was a poor performance, and they deserve to get beat. I watched that. Bromley were the better side and were exposing them. That they look really fatigued, really tired. They've got a small squad that that they've had to play relentless amount of minutes, the same amount of players. Your Barrett's looks knackered. He's had to rotate as Sadler, and the depth in there. But they have got 69 points, and points on the board's all that matters. And I think they could draw all the games, and they'd definitely still go up. They've got a run of games. I think it's Newport, Barrow, Harrogate and Accrington off the top of my head. It's those sorts of teams who are going to have nothing to fight for, who in the lower regions of the table, and they've got them all to play in 4 games, and I can't see them not winning all those. And even if they win 3, draw 1, or win 2 and draw 2, I think that'd be enough to get them up. I just can't argue against them when you look at the fixtures and the team that they have been. You can't forget how good they were that first half of the season. I did a video on Nathan Lowe, and I didn't think it all down to him. I thought actually not a lot of it were down to him. He could score some clinical chances. He'd get the ball in the penalty box and he'd score, but they were still scoring a good amount of goals without him doing that. The midfield, the wing backs, the defending, they're still solid at the back. Although there's been a drop off. But I can't see it continuing like this. It can, but I don't think it will. I think it'll definitely turn, and they'll win the league, because you just can't argue against it. I think you'd be a fool to argue against it. Definitely going up, but like I say, with the points that they're on, I think this break that they've got, I know they're going to be playing on Saturday. They've voted to play, but I think Thursday to Saturday they've had a good 9 days of rest, and I think that'll only help them just recuperate, rest of mind as well. And I think they'll really attack these games, and I think I can just easily see them surging. Like I say, I think you'd be an idiot to suggest otherwise for how far they've come from last season and the start of this season, how fast they started and how well they have been. There's certain things that I don't get really with Matt Sadler. The fact that he ain't playing Danny Johnson. I think if he played in with Jamil Matt, there'd be much more of a threat, and he has got that clinical nature in the box that they might be missing without Nathan Lowe. But the criticism is had. You can let me know, Walsall fans, but I think it's been massively undeserved for the job that he's done, for where they are. Even if they don't go up, they've got to stick with him, because I really wasn't expecting this season. I think they recruited decently well, and they had good momentum from last season, but to be 17 points clear of Bradford City. I think they're 13 points clear of second at one point. You know, that is remarkable, and he has done a remarkable job. And you can't forget, you can't just have recency bias. You know, he has been. They've had a great season. Crewe, feel sorry for them missing out on the playoffs, but let me know who you think will miss out on the playoffs. And Grimsby ain't got a great relationship with their fans. From saying they are a poor side, and they're not, but they've got a poor defence, and that's why they're not getting the playoffs. But let me know your playoffs, and let me know who's going down. I think everyone can agree. Unfortunately, Carlisle and Morecambe are going into National League for the 2025-2026 season. Let me know your predictions in the comments down below. Let me know your thoughts on mine as well. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of disagreements, so let me know yours. Like the video if you did, and subscribe if you're new on the road to 900 subscribers. All support is massively appreciated. Have a good one.